whole idea or the objective of sharing this sermon, this Dhamma discussion, is to take the seekers of truth deeper and deeper into the path. But it is a state or a realm where you do not meet anything at all. Whereas in the material world or the mundane plane, you have all these trees, chairs, and all these so-called physical objects, people, relationships, places. Whereas when you go deeper and deeper into Dhamma, realizing the truth, you're transcending this realm of external and internal objects, and eventually end up extinguishing all the defilements. Nivima, or the Nibbana, or the Nirvana. If there's a fire, there's an extinguishment. Similarly, whatever the pain that you're going through, the suffering of this worldly existence is extinguished by the diminishment of defilements. So without having this wisdom of how the mind is created, Pubbhe Nivanussati Jnana, there's no path to wisdom or path to Nirvana. And it's not just that, we have three other kinds of three sciences or three vidya, Pubbhe Nivanussati Jnana, Chutuppata Jnana, and Asavakkhaya Jnana. So Pubbhe Nivanussati Jnana means how this thought came into existence, starting from how yellow came into existence, how mother, father, and how yourself came into existence, and all these complex and complicated thoughts came into existence. And Chutuppata Jnana, or the wisdom of Chutuppata, is in this moment you see how these thoughts are created. And whatever thought you're encountering in this present moment, how did it come to existence? And Asavakkhaya Jnana is, as you awaken to the way you feel in this path, you begin to realize that this feel is slowly but surely dissolving, and that is the Asavakkhaya Jnana. Nothing in this path is harder. Just like how you would climb a mountain, it may seem like a treacherous, scary task, but when you get to the top, you know it is safe. You know, especially if it's a plane, you know there's no falling back or whatever. You're in a safe place, and the pain is over. You don't have to try any harder because you have already reached the top. This journey of Nibbana is like that. Until you get to the top, you don't really know what's going on. There can be pitfalls, there can be drawbacks, but when you get to the top, you know for sure you are there and you're safe. These three deeper wisdoms mentioned above are the vehicle that carries one to Nibbana, the wisdom of passing and arising. Chutuppata Jnana is also known as the awakening to the moment. The mind does not awake to the moment without having the wisdom of recollection of the past minds. Pubbhe Nivanussati Jnana. The wisdom of the recollection of past minds is not the one that's written in the texts. Understanding the wisdom of the recollection of past minds is the understanding the mode of creation of the mind. For this, it is necessary to go to the point of a small child. By the time we were born, we did not know anything. We noticed that many got confused with Mahanidana Sutra, whether the consciousness enters into the womb or not. But we have shown that there is no such thing taking place. Therefore, we expounded the Mahanidana Sutra and explained that there is no such thing happening there. Consciousness is the feeling when cells are growing. The Buddha never talked about the last mind, Jyotisik-citta, and first mind, Pratisandhi-citta. There is nothing mentioned in the Abhidharma as well, and these two words are additions of authors who wrote books. The Buddha used the words Okanti Gabbanti Gabbaseyam. The meaning of these words differ from the above two words of Chuti and Pratisandhi. If the last mind, Chuti Chitta, enters a womb as first mind, Pratisandhi Chitta, according to these authors, it depicts that the same consciousness travels from a dead into a newly born. The Buddha explained this as a wrong view, Mithya Ditti. The Buddha asked the bhikkhu Sati whether he ever preached about the consciousness that travels after the death in the Kevatta Sutra. It says that if there is no surface to reflect the consciousness, it would become not traceable, vijnana anidasana. The consciousness arises and passes away at the same moment. It is the truth. This explanation will benefit for you. Therefore, please be mindful. We know that as far as you have issues, doubt will not go away. This Dharma is to be understood in a clear mind. This is a deeper point of what we are talking about. So, the deeper wisdoms that we were referring to, the three kinds of sciences, That is the one that takes you to Nibbana. So, with the wisdom of passing and arising, how a thought came into this existence in this moment, this particular moment, Chutupata Jnana, it's the same thing as awakening to the moment. It does not awaken to the moment without the realization of how the mind came into existence. So, understanding this, how these mind come into existence, or the creation of the mind, is taking you towards the path of nirvana. So, if we, it's the same idea, same discussion that we have talked about in the past also. How, by referring to a small child from birth, how this mind uh, transmitted, came into existence, developed into existence. So this Mahanidana Sutra, it seems like it's a lot of people got confused with Mahanidana Sutra, whether the consciousness comes into existence by entering into the womb or not. But Buddhotpado Deshanas had um, repetitively talked about this and cleared out that that is not what Mahanidana Sutra was explaining. Consciousness eventually comes into existence when the cell growth is happening. There's this movement with that, the vibrations grow into more vibrations. And even this Chuti Chitta and Pratisandhi Chitta, Buddha never mentioned about this in Abhidharma or whatever. This is some sort of a different idea that came into existence via commentator is written after Buddha's time, mostly to Tripitaka, the Pali Canon. Instead, how Buddha explained this using these three words, Okkanti, Gapanti, and Gabbaseyam. And that is different to Chuti Chitta and Pratisanti Chitta. So if the last mind or the Chuti Chitta enters a womb as the first mind, or the Pratisanti Chitta, it gives the idea that the same consciousness travels from a dead body to a newly born. This is a Michaditya, or a wrong view. So in the Kevatta Sutra, Buddha clearly says that he never preached about a consciousness that travels from one life to another. So the only time where consciousness can be untraceable, meaning if that is the case, if the consciousness goes from one life to another, it would be traceable. Whereas if you see the truth, if there's no way that the consciousness can be projected, or then vijnana, or the consciousness become anidasana, it becomes untraceable. So the only way this phenomenon can be explained is via the arising and the passing away of the consciousness at the same time in this moment. That is the truth. So that this truth about the mind is a really important truth, because it clarifies a lot of doubts. Without these doubts being clarified, there's no path. So this Dhamma needs to be explained and understood in a clear mind. So there's no consciousness moving from one life to another. Instead, the last whatever the vibration you have, if there is a vibration similar to that, this is the phenomenon of resonance or telepathy. If there's a similar vibration occurring somewhere else, then say in a womb, then there's Okkanti Gabbanti Gabbaseyan. It's like if you have the same frequency, Sirasa can be, you can listen to Sirasa in Colombo, in Jaffna, or in US or any other country with the correct equipment, with the correct radio. Similarly, there's no actually physical location that you can allocate to a frequency or a vibration. And when the last vibration happens here, we can't even say last and next, but we have to use words to explain this. If here's a vibration here, if there's a vibration here, similar vibration can happen at a different place. So the same way, the telepathy or the principle of resonance, according to that, the zygote can pick up the same vibration and vibrate in that same vibration. And when the cell growth happens, then the vijnana or the consciousness begins to mature. And even if the child is born, there is no projected consciousness, only the potential, only an infant carrying the potential of a consciousness, where once he started talking, or rather thinking, that potential has to mature into a proper consciousness. Like in the example of when he or she is first taught colors. Yellow, he will be, at the age of 1.5, 2, or 1, or whatever, whenever at the age they start talking, they will always be pointed at some picture and given a word. So this, whatever the picture and whatever the word, when tangled together, they will end up uttering that word that they are given through the ear. And at the same time, it will establish that there is an object that has the same image and the same name. And that will be established. That is where the consciousness is projected properly with an external manifestation for the first time. And there, at the same time, he has thoughts created. So then it moves on to the child is given other labels beyond just the colors. Ball, he or she would learn to recognize a ball and call it a ball, recognize dogs, mother, father, and eventually this system that recognizes objects matures, levels up when he's introduced to more things, and then the system takes on a thought on its own. Oh, if that is my mother, if that is the father, then there should be a person to whom this mother and father belong to, and that should be the self, and that should be the name whoever my mother always asked me to say or pronounce. So that then the picture of that myself, my mother always asked to call it someone or whatever, Diana or whatever, then checks this person, this self, so-called self, begin to check uh, his or herself in the mirror and allocates that reflection to this name. Oh, that someone must be whoever I see in the mirror. So this self, this false self, it is nothing but a bunch of thoughts. How can a reflection in a mirror be a self? Reflection in a mirror is a reflection in a mirror. And just the way how yellow became a thought, that reflection get tangled with the name. My name is Harshi. My name is Saman. My name is whoever one. So name and form union. Nama Rupa getting together happens with everything to create external mind objects and also internal internal mind objects. Primarily the self. The first of the so-called internal, very first one would be the self, myself. So now, okay, this child established, or the system of the child established, is so herself. Or let's take ourselves for an example. Now I came into existence. Now I see everything. I see the mother. I see the father. Not just the mother exists. Okay, first the mother. Somebody showing the image of the mother and calling her mother. Now they get entangled, and the object of mother come into existence. It takes now. This process is taken one step further, and the self is also created. Now the relationship between the mother and self is created by another thought. So mother is created by a thought, self is created by a thought. That is my mother is another thought. Oh, I see my mother is another thought. So all these relationships, I love my mother. So every time there's something there, that is one thought. There, myself is there, that is another thought. I see that self, or to me that self, that object exists, is another thought. And this process happens simultaneously when we kind of get into this realization that external world exists. The mind object, the external object, and the internal object with relative to that, which is the self, they're created at the same time. Itta sanyava and the atma sanyava, and also at the same time, feel that the external thing exists and the internal thing exists is also created. So there's thought and this vibration giving mental power, which is the existing feeling. I exist or the external object exists. So, and we are through this dharma, we understand how the mind came into existence and how the mind coming into existence, it's giving rise to the feeling that the external world and the internal world exist. So by understanding and realizing how the mind came into existence, one thing, the value that we have attributed to thoughts are slowly dissolving, and by awakening to the the charge or the mental power inside us, it's we awaken to what the path is and what kind of how we are walking the path. If our defilements are diminished, that is the key factor of this path. That is the most important factor of this path, awakening to how you feel, which will take you on the path. And when you have diminished defilements, when you feel that your internal burning is getting lesser and lesser, that is the only way that you're in the path. And that is the extinguishing of the fire. If there's a fire, there's an extinguishment. ගින්නක් තියෙනවා නිවීමක් තියෙනවා. So if the fire is getting lesser, that means the defilements are slowly being diminished. You're headed towards the correct path.